I will request all. Namaskar. We have put a Google form in the chat box, a link for Google form. I will request all kindly fill the Google form. Those who have already mentioned their membership number and name, I will request all to fill the Google form for attendance purpose because we have just started the recording. I will request all to fill the Google form. Thanks. We will start the session in next 3 to 4 minutes time. I will request all to please fill the Google form. The link is given in chat box. फडके मॅडम जरा परत एकदा टाका Google form. Because those who have joined after you have put, they will not able to see the form.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Again, the link is given in chat box. I will request all to fill the Google form.
Pandurangan sir, good morning.
Namaskar, sir.
Namaskar, Kulkarni sir.
Namaskar, namaskar. Namaskar, sir.
Namaskar. Good morning to all the participants.
I will request all to fill the Google form. Link is given in chat box. We will start the session in next 1 or 2 minutes. Ashish?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Let's start the session.
Okay. So, uh, good morning to all of you. On behalf of WRC, I welcome you all on today's webinar on costing of coal industry. I welcome Sriram Mahakaliwal sir, Chairman of WRC. I welcome Neeraj Joshi ji, Central Council member and today's speaker. I also welcome uh, B. Pandurangan sir, our today's speaker. So, see, we at WRC decided to have a series on costing product, means industry specific costing series. And in that series, first today we are starting with the coal industry. And to give the brief about the coal industry costing and nitty-gritty of the costing of coal industry, we have with us uh, B. Pandurangan sir. He is a cost accountant with over 12 years of experience in coal industry. He is working at Coal India Limited headquarter, as well as he has experience of producing subsidiary WCL with 10 plus year of experience in costing, budgeting, forecasting. Uh, he is all qualified CMA in 2010 with all over India rank of all over India 26 rank in final examination. He has also completed his company secretary as well as CA final one group. He is graduate from corporate Bachelor of Corporate Secretary with Madras University. He has been also completed business valuation from the institute. Very passionate about giving lectures and all that, and he has been a vast experience in the coal industry. And I am sure that his experience will help us and to understand the costing of coal industry. Another faculty of today's session is CMA Neeraj Joshi. I think CMA Neeraj Joshi has not required any introduction. Currently, he is a Central Council member of our institute, and he's been chairman of WRC for the year 1920. And he has been a practicing cost accountant, having a vast experience in various industries. So I am sure that experience of these faculties will help us to guide further. So before we start, first I request our chairman, Sriram Mahakaliwar sir, to have a few words, welcoming words to this session. Sriram sir.
I appreciate the efforts of the Professional Development Committee of the Institute of Cost Accountants of India, Western India Regional Council, by having these industry-specific webinars. And to begin with, we have started with the coal industry. Just now, we have completed our assignments of cost audits, and everybody is having all the memories of those conduct. And certainly, whatever difficulties, whatever changes, or whatever new requirements are there for the practicing cost accountants as well as the members in industry needs to be addressed and resolved by way of conduct of such type of webinars. And for that matter, we have a very apt faculty in the form of Pandurangan sir. I am proud to feel, rather proud to say that he is also member of our Nagpur chapter, and I am also member of the Nagpur chapter, and is working with the Coal India and handling the cost and budget of the very big corporate Coal India Limited. by way of providing his services to subsidiary company Western India Western Coalfields Limited. I hope his submission will certainly enlighten all of us. I also thank the Vice Chairman of Western India Regional Council, Vinay Kulkarni sir, today's other speaker, Central Council member Neeraj Joshi sir, for sparing his valuable time for the conduct of this webinar. And certainly both of us will provide valid inputs by through their submissions. And I also thank all the participants for participating in such a large numbers. I am getting the count of say 82 members have presently joined this, and I hope we begin with we will be completing the century also. I extend my best wishes and regards to the speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Sriram sir. Now I request Pandurangan sir to take over this session.
Before just 1 second, Pandurangan sir. Before we begin with the session, let me just briefly, since members have logged in, let me just explain the idea behind this particular series of webinars. See, we wanted more to focus on costing in a particular industry. It happens, it is most likely that many of the practitioners or maybe the younger CMAs, they don't have exposure to all the industries. Even I will not have exposure to all the industries, correct? So understanding how the costing or how the operations of a particular industry are is very critical for any cost accountant to have a holistic approach. So the focus of this series is not going to be the audit, but mainly on the product costing in a particular industry so that it has a more wider application. And that is why we have selected people who are working in the industry. And what we have requested already, the Pandurangan sir, and what the next speakers in the series also will be requesting them, is to give an overview also about the operations of the industry, maybe the specific areas where the costing becomes critical, so that the audience get an insight into how that particular industry functions. And then a small coverage of from the auditing angle the other speaker would do. So I would request all of you that if you have any questions regarding the operations, or if you don't understand any concept, please make use of the expert panelists that we have here. Mr. Pandurangan sir is very well versed with the complete mining operations. So when he is deliberating, maybe during the deliberation, if he is okay with that, or you can post the questions and Kulkarni sir or Ashish sir will take up the questions, but clarify all your doubts if you have any doubt regarding the concept, because it may happen that a particular attendee has not had any exposure to the mining industry, or subsequently when we will cover the other industries. So please get your doubts clarified. We want the members to have insight into the operations of that particular industry, so that in future, if they come across any kind of professional assignment, they will be fully equipped. Yeah, thank you. Yes, Pandurangan sir, you can please proceed with your presentation.
Thank you so much, sir, and thank you, Ashish sir, and Sriram Hankaliwar sir, and Neeraj Joshi sir, for giving me this opportunity. I feel very privileged to be making a presentation in front of all my learned CMA fellow fraternity, and I can see a lot of many familiar faces in this August gathering. That am I audible? I mean,
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Sir, I also request you to give me permission to share my screen. I'm not given. And
No, you can share this. You can share.
sir, I'm unable to. That option is
Just a minute.
locked.
Just
Sir.
a minute.
I'm not allowed to share.
Okay, madam, just shake.
So I can see a lot of familiar people here who are stalwarts in this industry, and they are very well aware of the practices and how the industry functions. So it's a mix of the audience is a mix of both these people. I mean, the one side we have the respected CMA fraternity, and on the other hand, the industry or stalwarts are also there. So I feel privileged to be making this presentation to you all. And this is such a wonderful initiative. I really appreciate it. And yes, I thank once again for giving me the opportunity to be the first speaker in this series, and the series becomes a grand success. I wish all the very best to you, sir. And yes, the topic for today is the industry specific costing. So I'll be sharing a few.
Sir, good morning, sir.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Sir, good
Hello.
morning, sir. Sorry to
morning.
disturb you, sir. Your camera is not so clear, sir. We are unable to see your phone. That means.
Is it okay now, sir?
Still, now it is a little bit okay, sir.
You can close the curtains behind you, Pandurangan sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. They
No,
are closed.
but when he starts presenting his presentation, I think the camera won't matter, correct?
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir. Now it is a little bit good, sir.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. I hope you can see my screen. Is it visible to you?
Yes.
So yes, as we all know, the topic for today will be the coal mining industry. So it will be my privilege to share with you some of the insights that I have been privy to in working in this industry for the past 12 years. And yes, so this will be the points of discussion today. So these are the points that I have gathered for discussing with you. Many of the topics, since I'm aware that many of the people here are somewhat new to this industry, and I would like to give a background before I go into the costing requirements in this industry. So as we given here, these are the primary points for discussion today. And yes, we will take one by one. So as you all know, the energy sector throughout the world and in India is a bit different. You can very well see here how it works throughout the world and in India. In the total scenario of this entire world, the coal contributes only about 27% of the total energy requirements. Here, energy, I'm talking about energy in particular. Yeah. Electricity will be a particular specific industry, will be a subcomponent of this energy requirements. So overall, there has been great reliance on oil and natural gas for the primary source of energy, and coal is only 27% in this. And but whereas the scenario here in India is a bit different because of the lack of reserves that we have in our country for natural gas and oil, and still we have this. We import a lot of oil for our
I request all to please your mic muted in muted form. I will request all to mute your mic. Yes, sir, you can continue.
So, yeah, thank you very much, sir. So, as you all are aware, we meet most of our oil requirements through imports. So, it is not feasible for a country to India to depend more on imports. So, the energy structure, the composition of the energy structure in India is tilted towards coal. There are a lot of criticisms that coal is not is a polluter. It is the source of carbon and it promotes global warming. It's all there. The criticism is all there, but the ground reality is that we cannot do away with coal. Coal continues to be the primary source of energy for us. It is indigenously available, and we will look at in the other screens of why India stuck to its target of having such a major chunk of coal in its energy portfolio. So as you can all see, the coal sector in India, I mean, our total coal production and dispatch, you can see, these are some figures that I have taken from the Coal Ministry of Coal website. And these are some statistics that I have given to you. You can see, very well see that the requirement of coal is on the rise. This is to fulfill a part of the energy requirement of the country, which is on a growth trajectory. As we talk increasingly about the increase in the GDP of the country, there is also a corresponding increase in the energy requirement of the country. And since coal is the major contributor to the energy sector, that the requirement of coal is also steadily on the rise. And yes, we meet a part of our requirement of coal through imports. So I would like to stress a few points here in the two tables given below, that we meet a part of our imports through coal requirement through imports. Since we are not self-sufficient yet in this industry, we meet our part of that coal. And as you can see in the third table, that out of the total coal imports, non-coking, we have two types of coal. We classify coal basically into two types. That is, one is the coking coal, another is the non-coking coal. The non-coking coal is primarily used in your thermal power sector, matlab for power generation. And coking coal is basically used mostly in steel industry and other related industry as a raw material for the manufacture of steel. So India as such has limited reserves in coking coal industry. So out of the coking coal reserves that we have, it is insufficient to meet the demands of the growth in steel sector in the industry, and therefore the country has to resort to imports of coking coal. So coking coal imports is going to be a sine qua non for the country. So there is no other alternative to coking coal as of yet, and so India continues to import a fair share of its coking coal requirements. As you can see, indigenously, the coking coal production has been 51.7, whereas the coking coal import is higher than the domestic production. So that's the key point that we wish to drive home here. And both are on the rise. Both the internal coal production and the coal imports are on the rise to fuel the growth in the steel sector. And coming to non-coking coal, which India has in abundance. And this non-coking coal is mostly used for, as I said, around 75% of the coal that we produce is, that is the non-coking coal that we produce, is used in power sector. And there are other sectors which take up the balance share. We will see one of that in the future slides also. So this is the stage at which we are in this country. So here we can see the share of the coal, the production that takes place in this country. As you can see, out of the total 778 million tons that was produced in 21-22, CIL contributed to 622 million tons. So that's roughly 80% of the share of the entire coal that is produced in the country. We have no other option in being a monopoly in this market, because we have to cater to the growing requirements of the country as far as providing energy security is concerned. So CIL continues to be to play a lion's share in the coal production in this country, and we will be later seeing in this when we go into the company as such about Coal India, we will be seeing this in detail. So there are other countries, other companies also, like Singareni Collieries also produces coal. One more company is not given here, that is NLC India. NLC India does not produce coal, they actually produce lignite. And lignite is a inferior form of coal, or even also called as brown coal. So that we have not included that here. So we are focusing only on the coal production in this here. So NLC share has not been included. As you can see, there is a huge jump in the production of coal, not just in Coal India. I mean, across, if you see from 2021 to 21-22, yes, even SECL and other captive mines have also seen a big jump in their coal production, because we have to fulfill the energy requirements of the country. On one side, there is a growing demand for coal in this country, and on the other hand, we have a responsibility to bring down the non-coking coal imports also. As you saw in the earlier slide, there has been a decline in the coal imports on account of non-coking coal. That was very evident. So we have a role, we have that responsibility as in Coal India, as a largest producer of coal in this country, around satisfying 80% of the country's needs, we have this responsibility to bring down the share of the imported coal that is there, so that it won't even adversely affect our balance of trade also, and it cannot contribute to the trade imbalance in the country. So I have given in the next table how this coal is consumed in India. As I earlier said, power is the leading source of consumption of coal in this country. This CPP is captive power plants. Again, these are power plants. They consume thermal coal only. So put together, they contribute the lion's share of the coal that is produced in the country. In other words, simply around 3/4 or even 4/5 of the coal that we produce in this country goes into generating power through thermal power plants. So yes, how this coal, when you come into this coal industry, how this coal mine is mined is a very interesting thing. How a coal is mined depends on a lot of factors. I have given 3 factors here, which are the major factors. One is the depth at which the coal deposit is available in this country. Actually, as you are all aware, the coal is nothing but the carbonous matter that got trapped in the layer of earth for over 30 to 60 million tons. That is 3 to 6 crore years have taken place to convert those vegetation and animals reserves, all which have carbon locked in them, to convert from that stage to coal. Okay, so it has been such a long journey, and when these get converted into coal, we see that at how much depth that coal is available. This is one of the major factors in deciding how this coal will be mined. And the density of the overburden, I would like to introduce this term here, overburden, which means that the layer of earth over and above that is lying above the coal deposits, or what we call as coal seam. So this layer of earth lying over this coal seam is called overburden. Another factor that decides the way in which the coal is to be mined is the density of the overburden, and of course the thickness of the coal seam also is another factor. So depending on these factors, we decide how to mine that coal. One will be there are 2 methods that we are currently adopting. One is through open cast, and another is through underground mines. So OC and UG are the terms that we will be regularly using throughout this session. And so just would like to introduce these terms here. And this is the way. I mean, I said there is no thumb rule as to at what depth, if the coal is lying, we would go for underground mining. There is no thumb rule. There are variation in practices across subsidiaries. There are a lot of factors that are factored in before arriving at the mode through which the coal seam will be mined. And but if you ask people around the industry, everyone will say that there is a common thumb rule of 100 meters. So if the coal seam is available at a depth of say up to 100 meters, the coal will be mined through open cast method. And if the coal is available at much greater depths, it will be mined through underground mines. But as I said, this thumb rule is only to serve as a guide and to understand the method that is generally adopted, but in practice it varies. We have even witnessed open cast mines which operate even at 200-meter depths also. So that is there, but it all depends on the techno-economic feasibility of the mining process that is going to be done. So yes. And as I said, there are many, broadly we classify our mines into UG mines and OC mines. And there are many different methods of mining that are adopted. One is the board and pillar. And first we will concentrate on underground mines. Then the commonly adopted technology, method of mining, method of mining will be the board and pillar method of mining, wherein we use conventional technologies. But here, before going into this, I would like to give a small background over the mining industry. One is basically what happened was the mining industry started in India way back in around 18th century when the Englishmen came and they started mining coal in the state of Bengal. So there the coal mining started at that time, and slowly we realized that we have abundant coal deposits not not just in West Bengal but also in Jharkhand, which is a very mineral rich state, as you are very well aware. So where people realize that there is a potential of utilize that is available. So they started mining. So this mining was done by people in the private domain, and everyone whoever could have access to mining, they undertook mining, and there was a rampant exploitation of the labor, and also there were no scientific methods of mining that were adopted. So there were a lot of problems that were ailing this coal industry in the country. And when the government realized that it's high time that we introduce some technology and to streamline the coal mining process in this country, they decided to nationalize all the coal mines in this country. So the nationalization happened, and in 1975 they created this umbrella company, Coal India Limited, which was formed as a holding company, and there were 7 subsidiaries mines created, subsidiary companies that were created over the period of time. These 7 companies were handed over the task of coal mining at different dates. So these every coal mining company or a subsidiary that was under the umbrella of Coal India was given a range of operation. Say, for example, the ECL is operating mostly in West Bengal. BCCL is operating in Jharkhand. So the depending on the geographical location of the mines, they created 7 different coal mining companies, and each one was interested with the mines that were present at that point of time to handle that mining. So predominantly when this mining industry started, we had large share of UG mines. So around more than 700 underground mines were present at the time of nationalization, and more than 6 lakh people were engaged in this industry when the mines were nationalized, and when Coal India took over the operations of this coal mining in this country. So at that point of time, as I said, there were the company took over mines which were unscientifically developed and which were being used with different technologies were introduced at that point of time. There was no proper scientific study and to decide the technology that is to be used in this country. And when Coal India took over, they started developing those mines in a scientific manner. Still, there are a lot of underground mines. Most of our underground mines, I would say more than 90%, as a thumb rule, of the underground mines currently that are operating in this country are all the assets that were taken over by the company at the time of nationalization in the year 1975. So this is to give you a background of how the companies were. So we have to first basically understand that when Coal India took over these mines were at different stages of development, and there were little scope for greater planning and greater technology introduction. But when Coal India took over, we did all possible methods to streamline all those mining methods and develop those mines in a scientific manner and through greater adoption of technology. So technology didn't come so easily to this industry. It came with a very slow pace. And I would say it was still a very labor-intensive industry as far as in the earlier years of the Coal India, since there were, as I said, more than 700 mines when they were taken over. Around 95% of those mines were underground mines. So they were very labor-intensive. We did not have the technology that we currently have in all those mines. So the technology introduction was gradual and it was very slow. And at one point of time, the manpower even reached 7 lakh plus. So it was a very big challenge for the country in terms of handling its costs. So at that point of time, when the company was formed, we were into huge losses. I mean, every year the losses kept accumulating, and the company would depend on grants from the government to keep itself afloat. So this was the state of affairs the company was in at the initial years, but slowly and steadily, better sense prevailed, and the company through their mining subsidiary companies and with better management, they started to have better and better policies to make this company into a profitable company in the first phase that we witnessed in the 90s, and slowly the company has reached a position where it is now. It has been a gradual work. I mean, I would like to mention to the members present here that at the forefront of driving this company from being a loss-making company that was dependent on grants from the government for managing itself, from this phase to becoming a profitable company, there were two people who are mainly responsible for engineering this shift. And I am very proud to say that both these people are cost accountants. Why I say this? Because these two people, I mean, one person who was a chairman at that point of time was the first finance person to become a chairman of this company, PK. PK Sengupta sir was the longest serving chairman of Coal India also. So he was the first finance person to lead a mining company, to be at the helm of its affairs, and the longest serving chairman till date in this company. He was a cost accountant. Second, the next person who grew up under his tutelage and who shone like a bright gem at the time of its listing was Parthasarathi Bhattacharya. Again, he was a cost accountant. And I think the institute could do well if we could facilitate these people in some manner or the other. Sir, that's my suggestion to you. If we can arrange to facilitate these cost accountants who have engineered the turnaround of this company from being a company to a profit, to a Maharatna company it is right now, we would be doing our profession a world of good, sir. It's my suggestion to you. And yes, so I just wanted to make this suggestion because we are a gathering of mostly cost accountants here. So just I wanted to share this pride of this profession with all of you. So yes, as I said, when this mining happened, mostly there were UG mines, and most of the mining was done through this board and pillar method of mining. But with later on, as the company moved on to introduction more scientific method of mining, we had this exclusive company called CMPDIL, Coal Mine Planning Design and Institute Limited. This company came into effect. We created a talent pool of engineers who could create wonderful mine plans and design and introduce technology. We could able to get technology such as this continuous miners and longwall mines in longwall miners in our mines. There are mines in like ECL and SECL which are shining examples of introduction of these technologies. And in OC mining also, which right now, as I said, in the initial days, there were 95% of the mines were underground mines, but there has been a shift now. The shift is that 95% of the coal that is being currently produced in this country comes from open cast mines. So there are a lot of reasons what mark this shift from UG mining to OC mining. So we will be discussing a few of them as we go ahead in this session. So these are the technology I have mentioned here. We will like to see a few of them also. So as I said, this UG mining, I have given a slide here, mentioned the famous method of mining that is predominantly being followed in Coal India. Well, the upper part, there are two diagrams. One is the board and pillar I have mentioned. It's a pencil, it's a pen sketch actually, just to explain to you how the coal is mined. And on the right side, you can see an optical illusion. It is not meant to be an optical illusion, just to give you an idea of how it's mined. I mean, the areas, I mean, in white are the areas in which the coal is mined, and the areas in black are the pillars in which will be supporting the roof of the mines. So if you can see that if a mine is in an underground mine, most of the coal is left out in the form of pillars. So it's a thumb rule that only 60 to 65% of the coal is logged as pillars in the underground mines, and only the balance 30 to 35% or maybe maximum up to 40% with the introduction of newer technologies we can extract from this board and pillar method of mining. So that is the one of the prevalent methods of mining, but still as you can very well understand, it has a lot of disadvantages. The main disadvantage being most of the coal is being locked up in those pillars. So that is the inherent disadvantage of this method of mining. But these are offset to some extent by the introduction of technologies like the continuous miner that you can see on the left side of the bottom left side, and to a long extent by the longwall method of mining. But these two, the introduction of these technologies are constrained by the due to various technical factors such as the thickness of the seam in which we operate, and the quality of coal, and the techno-economic, what we call a techno-economic feasibility. So these are constrained because most of these technologies are imported technologies. We don't have indigenous manufacturers and undertaking this, and the technology is still being imported. So we have to do a lot of techno-economic feasibility before we can introduce these in any mines. So one major reason why the technology introduction in underground mines is hampered is the method of the formation of this coal seam in India. I'd like to tread into the scheme. I mean, the method of formation of coal in India. Most of the coal, there are two methods of coal formation in geology. One is called as the in situ method of coal formation, and the other one is known as the drift theory of coal formation. In India, most of the coal that is available is through this drift theory. What happens in drift theory is that these trees and other organic matter get washed away in a flood or something like that, and they get deposited. So what happens in this is there is a very what you can say, there are the thickness of the seam will be very different across the coal seam. So in one place there will be a lot of coal, and another place there will be a lot, I mean it will be much lesser, and as we progress it will increase, and then it will be like a hilly terrain. So it will not be even, the deposits will not be even, and it is very difficult to introduce a streamlined technology to mine out this drift coal. Whereas in situ formation, earlier there used to be a forest, and due to this erosion and other reasons, this forest got deposited inside this earth, and there is a very straight and thick seam that is available for a longer distance, which enables introduction of technologies. Here I would like to mention that in countries like China, we have this drift coal, and China continues to be the largest producer of coal till date for the past more than 25 years. China continues to be the largest producer of coal, and they have wonderful in situ coal formations there. And due to this in situ formation, the coal quality is also better, whereas compared to in drift theory, we have a higher concentration of ash in this coal when this coal is formed in drift theory. So, but that is the gift that we have got in India, and we have to do with what we have got. So that's why the introduction of technology inside an underground mine continues to be very limited, and this leads to the cost of underground mining being much more than what it is in open cast mines. We go to open cast mines now. So this is the, as we can see, the one at the top is the predominant method of open cast mining, that is through a combination of this technology, what we call as shovel and dumper. And so this shovel and dumper continues to be the predominant method of open cast mining in our industry. And we also have we are also increasingly investing in technologies such as this dragline that is given and surface miner. I mean, the basic difference between this dragline and surface miner is dragline is mostly used for OB removal, and this surface miner is a coal cutting technology. It focuses only on coal production. So that is the major difference between this. So in companies like in northern coalfields and in Mahanadi coalfields, where we have large open cast mines available, these technology you will find these technologies being abundantly used. Even in WCL, when we have large mines, we have these technologies for surface miners and all those things. So what they do is the surface miners in shovel and dumpers, what normally we do is we use explosives, we blast the surface, and once this dust settles down, we use these shovels and dumpers to remove that coal and OB. So we do that. But in case of surface miners, we don't. This is a clean coal cutting technology, and just the coal that has been cut is either loaded directly or loaded through shovel and dumpers. So that is the way in which the technologies are used. Again, these technologies depend on the geological conditions. So the extent of which this coal is amenable to for technology introduction. So that is the major difference. So if we have large mines with large areas for coal in which this technology can be introduced, you will find a lot of such HEM, we call them heavy earth moving machinery, and these technologies you will be using. So I would like now to go into a few points specifically for Coal India. I mean, this was the industry in general. Now specifically to coal, as I had mentioned, Coal India contributes 80% of the total coal production, and as we grow more and more into as our CMPDI subsidiary, our subsidiary CMPDI grows more and more, we'll be seeing lot of reserves of coal being added into that category, which will improve our chances for coal being abundantly available in India. So these geological reserves of coal that is available in the country is in the domain of CMPDI. They do those research and surveys, and they find out how much coal is available in the country, and they keep adding it to the coal resource that is available in the country. So this 344 billion tons is not a benchmark or a thumb rule. It is only an indicator. The number keeps increasing every year as CMPDI gets more and more active. And yes, this coal that we have, the deposits that we have, is enough to last for at least a century. So that is our that is one major reason why we are not still cutting down on our coal production in this country, even though it is a very big contributor to your global warming. So yes, there has been an increase in share of renewable energy. I know the August audience will be aware of it very well, but still coal demand will continue to increase. That is the reality that we'll have to see. How we can make it more economic friendly and environmentally friendly is a big topic of, and there are a lot of researches that are going on currently in this country. But whatever be the outcome, coal will be the sign for energy security of the country. Yes, these are certain figures I would like to give here. So as I mentioned, it is as far as India is concerned, around 80% of the coal production happens to Coal India, and it is as we go around throughout the world, we observed that we are the largest coal producing company in the world, and one of the lowest cost producers. Will be that's one area where we are still relevant in cost accountants. We are still relevant in a mining company. So one biggest reason has been the low cost advantage that we currently possess, and we have extensive mining capabilities, very good pool of mining engineers, and the technology development in this country has been absolutely brilliant. With these mining capabilities, we continue to be a very strong contender in providing energy security to the country. We have as you all saw that we still have demand supply shortfall. I mean, that is the supply far exceeds, sorry, the demand far exceeds the supply, through the result of which we are resorting to imports from other countries. So there is a very big region where we can we still have uh, we can grow. That is one area for growth. Even though the coal imports are declining, as far as the non-coking coal is concerned, we still have a long way to go in cutting down the coal imports and minimizing the coal imports to the large extent possible. So again, as I said, we have strong management. We have a proven track record that is very clear in the financials of the company, which I have given a few figures here given below. I mean, in terms of dollar terms, I mean, I have taken yesterday's dollar rate of 82.85. Still at that rate, our net worth is in far excess of $5 billion. Our PBT is in excess of $2 billion. So these are very attractive figures, and one reason why the company continues to grow is because of the strong management and the low costing advantage. Yes, we continue to grow, and we have set a target of 1 billion ton production in 24-25. And technologically, we are trying to improve. And there has been a lot of, if you open any of their annual report, you will see the amount of stress the management lays on the technological improvements in the company. And of course, there has been regarding this renewables and coal technologies also, the Coal India has been in news lately. Yes, before going into this corporate structure, I would just like to add one here. Here, I have not given a few more subsidiaries have been recently created. I mean, this financial year, notably among this is the renewable energy arm of the Coal India Limited. It has been we have created a subsidiary for exclusively for renewable energy. So there is a very big renewable push by Coal India consciously to whereas the coal continues to be a major contributor to requirement. We are also focusing on renewable energy in a big way, but yes, we are still taking baby steps in it, and we have a long way to go. So as I said, you can see the around 66% of our shares is held by Government of India, the rest by the public. And these are all the first 7 companies that you can see in this list of the subsidiaries: ECL, BCCL, CCL, MCL, SCCL, MCL. They're all coal producing companies. And we also have a CMPDI, which is a Mine Planning and Design Institute. So these are, I mean, the other step down subsidiaries are Jharkhand Railway Limited, Chhattisgarh East West Railway Limited, Chhattisgarh East Railway Limited. These are all companies that we have formed to improve on the coal dispatch network in this country. I mean, as you all are aware, coal is a very highly combustible substance. And if we don't have enough ways of evacuation of coal, we cannot produce. We will be constrained to produce lesser. If our evacuation is constrained, our coal production will also be constrained. We cannot just keep on producing coal without the evacuation facilities, because it is highly combustible, and there is a huge chance of getting fire in the coal that has been produced and which has not been dispatched. So we have this responsibility of improving the dispatch. For that, we are very focused, and that shows by our shutdown subsidiaries, this which we have created exclusively for developing railway networks across the country. And you can see in Mahanadi has also ventured into power production also, and they have been trying for the last few years to improve on their power production also for power plants situated at their pit heads. So this is another parallel growth aspect that the company has been focused upon. So which is quite feasible in that region also. So we are spread over 8 states, and we have the coal production is also it has also done in 2 other states also. But basically 8 states are the big contributors to and Coal India is present in these 8 states. And these are a few numbers here. We have 318 mines right now. I mean, if you had asked, this is a very dynamic figure. If you had asked a year earlier, I would have said there were 345 mines in 1421. It has come down to 318 mines. One of the major reason is that the number of mines that are old and which have exhausted their reserves, we keep on closing them. That is one area where cost accountants play a very good in highlighting to the management how these unproductive closed mines can be shut down, and how the manpower can be moved to other producing companies, which will save cost to the company. So if time permits, we will also go into how cost accountants contribute to the improving the cost structure of the company. So finish these basic things that I would like to highlight here before we go further. So this is the highlights of performance. This shows how the growth that the company has witnessed in 21-22. I wouldn't like to go into the details of this. These are figures, and this I will be sharing this presentation with all of you so that you can also have a go through with it. And CIL also makes a point to give regularly this media messages to media of how their performance has been, and you can get these through those media outlets on the performance of the company. And yes, where cost accountants, I'll be focusing mostly on the costing aspect of the company. So as I said, we produce coal at a very discounted price compared to the imported coal. I mean, strictly speaking, the cost of production of the domestic coal and the imported coal cannot be compared in the sense that the coal that is domestically available is very inferior, and the coal that we import is very highly superior coal. So that way they have this leverage to fix higher prices. So, and even if we are operating at a lower cost, we cannot raise that price to that extent. So comparing the coal that is inferior, as I said, the drift coal that we currently have in our country is inferior in nature. Average, I mean, this is a mean figure of grade, that is G9. G9 is a very inferior, I mean, it has, we can say that the ash percentage on an average in this coal will be around 34%. So it is a mean range of coal that is highly produced in this country. So on an average, we have inferior coal. If you see in subsidiaries like ECL and BCCL and CCL, they will have higher quality coal. But as we progress to NCL, WCL and MCL, the coal grade will be lower. Even in WCL, when we go underground mines, I mean, coal that is available at greater depths, that coal is also not a very high grade of coal. Even if underground mines in ECL, you will get grades like G1, G2, G3, like that grades you will get. But whereas in WCL, if you go underground mines, we get grades like G8, G9 and all those things. So this is the geological factors. We cannot do much with it. So still what we are witnessing is the grade of coal. I mean, even this inferior grade of coal, this is highly suitable for the thermal power stations. Even if we produce inferior grade of coal, we have a very good market for this coal. That has been a very heartening factor for us. So and as I mentioned earlier, this low cost has been possible due to a higher proportion of the open cast mines in the list. And yes, and as I said earlier, even though in the earlier slide I showed you that around half of the mines are open cast and half of them are underground. Slide. I mean, 141 UG mines and 158 OC mines. So even though the UG number of the amount of coal that we extract from those mines is very less, as I said, there is on this current date we are producing 95% of the coal from open cast and only 5% of the coal from underground mines. So in terms of numbers, it is like 141, but in terms of quantity, it is only 5% of the total coal produced. One more reason why the coal, the costing in underground mines is on the high. So, and since in open cast mines, we have this, we have large open economies of scale kick in. So one reason why our open cast mines are highly profitable and why CIL is increasingly uh, open cast mines gradually and as we go ahead. And as I said, as you can very well see in this top 35 mines contribute 75% of the company's total output. Come on, we are seeing like the scale of the operations of the company are like 300 plus mines. And out of those 300 plus mines, only 35 mines contribute to around 75% of the total coal output. That is the extent of the role that the large mines play in this industry. And this has also led to an increase in our productivity, which we measure through a term called OMS. OMS means output per man shift. It measures the amount of coal that is removed per man shift. So that is a measure of productivity in our industry. So the share of larger open cast mines in the coal production has led to an increase in overall labor productivity also. So, and again, this has all been possible and as I said earlier, the larger the mine, the larger the higher capacity equipments that we use, which improves our production as well as the productivity. Yes, this will be more relevant for us. You can see in the cost structure, out of the cost structure, still as I said, this continues to be a very labor intensive industry, and we still have a high component of underground mines in our mix. And even though we have reduced our manpower from a peak of around 7 lakh plus at one point of time to around 2.4 lakhs at this point of time as we are speaking. So even though the manpower has come down gradually from 7 lakh plus to 2.4 lakhs, the composition of the employee benefits in the total cost continues to be very high. And we don't have any, since this is a mining which involves extraction of coal from the earth, we don't have any raw materials. So, but still we have this material consumed, out of which the bulk of the materials. Hello. Has anyone any question to ask or point to make?
No, continue, sir.
Yeah. Even though, and we have in our material consumed, the large amount of material consumed will be around 2/3 roughly, will be the diesel component to drive our HEMMs. And increasingly, we are resorting to contractual production of coal, which is a reason for our growing profitability. Is that we are going more and more into contractual production for both OB removal and as well as coal, and this has led to efficiency in production and lowering of production costs. Stripping activity adjustment I'll be covering as a part of the industry specific expenses. And so as we can see, around 50%, roughly 50%. In the slide, it showed that 45% was the share in as far as 21-22 was concerned. But take it from me, in 22-23, that share will bounce back because we have our new label NCA agreements which are kicking in, which will again perk up the share of the employee benefits to around 50%. From 45, it will reach 50%. That is what we are expecting. So around half of our total expenses continue to be employee benefit expenses. We are increasingly outsourcing. So as I had mentioned a few of these points earlier also, we are increasingly resorting to outsourcing of both OBR and coal. And that is why the contractual expenses are growing. In the earlier slide, you can see it was like 900, it is now 800. So this is the jump that we are seeing. And inherently, the industry I have this is a ballpark figure that we consider, that around 60 to 70% of costs, fixed costs, are the employee benefit costs. Because we have to do with what we have got. Even though the increasingly resulting to contractual production, the employee benefit expenses are still enjoying a fair share of my cost structure, and which leads to a higher component of my fixed costs. And this ratio of 60 to 70% is higher in case of underground mines. I mean, in case of underground mines, the fixed costs will be around 85%, even 80, 90% in some cases in some mines. So that has been our experience so far. And in open cast mines, the figures with this percentage will vary. It will vary from 35 to 65% also. So there is a huge variation depending on the deployment of manpower in those mines. So that is the nature of the costs that we have. And this last point is the consequence of the higher component of fixed cost in the structure, because given this much amount of cost structure, fixed costs in our cost structure, there is a very lesser control that is being exercised by the management. There is scope for lesser control to be exercised by the management as far as the cost control is concerned. If time permits, we can go into some of the areas where we are getting into where we are focusing on this cost management and on this controllable costs, what we call as controllable costs. So given some time, we can also go into it. So this is the coal production, the coal. I mean, as I was suggesting, our overall out of this is in 2021. Never, doesn't matter. The numbers don't shift too much actually. I mean, in terms of both the composition of UG and OC, here this is not been updated to 21-22 because I have not been allowed to give out figures of cost of production. So I have kept it to 2021, where these figures are available in public domain also. If some diligent is given, you can get all these figures. So I have given only those figures that are available in public domains because these are information is private to the restrictions on description. So the above the coal production, why has been given is that because of the as I said, composite contribution of the mining methods to the overall contribution. As I said, increasingly around 95% of the coal continues to be from open cast mines, and you can start. A simple thumb rule is what it is very evident from this slide, and we are touching 7,000 in this in case of 8,000 in case of when UG cost of production, and in OC mines it is 868. So this is not too different in 21-22. It will hover mostly in this range only. So yes, we will, before we go into the industry specific things, I would like to give a brief introduction to the cost audit that is of in the industry. I won't be discussing much because my next speaker, Neeraj sir, will be focusing on this area. But this is only to give an introduction into the cost audit that is applicable in the industry. This started applicable in the industry from 11-12 onwards, and cost audit became applicable from 12-13 only. And we CIL and subsidiaries have a uniform cost accounting policy across all CIL and subsidiaries. This has been independently re-examined, verified, vetted, and these are changed from time to time to adapt to the changing circumstances. So we have only one product in our mix, that is coal. The coal may be coking and non-coking. In BCCL, we have coking coal, but the coal is just one commodity that we produce. We don't have any other commodity as of this date. So we only have one product, that is coal. So the costing will be focused only on these things. So as per this cost accounting policy, we have two industry specific expenses. So I would like to elaborate a few points on these two aspects because these are industry specific. So one will be the stripping activity adjustment, and the another one is the mine closure provisioning. I mean, the other costs, as there are the peculiar to the industry, don't have much variation in them as far as the cost structure is because you the esteemed the cost auditors here, you would very well have an experience about the different terms that are used in this cost structure, and the materials are not much different as far as the mining is concerned. There are only a few areas where they will be very different, and I wish to focus on these two aspects, given the limited time that I have, on these two things which are industry specific. This industry specific, I would like to first just give a, we will first start with stripping activity adjustment. This is the term that got introduced with the introduction of Ind AS as stripping activity adjustment. In earlier financial statements, you would see the word OBR adjustment that is being used. So even after adoption of Ind AS, this term has been renamed as stripping activity adjustment. So it's I'm not going to read out all these things. You can have it for your reference. Main point here is that in the accounting standards that we currently have do not have much material on this aspect. Matlab, the coal mining industry has this thing, and this is not been sanctioned yet by the Ind AS. However, we have a wonderful cost accounting standard 23, which talks in detail about this OBR adjustment and how to calculate its cost and how to disclose it. Since CIL has been regularly following this practice of accounting for OBR adjustment, this has been, you find this entry both in your pre-Ind AS financial statements as well as post-Ind AS financial statements. The only difference being that it has been renamed as stripping activity adjustment. Earlier it used to be OBR adjustment. The sum and substance are there. So this is the policy of the company. So we adopt this policy of stripping only in large open mines which have a rate capacity of 1 million per annum and above. Matlab, if the mine is able to produce, as per the capacity in the project report, every project we undertake do this techno-economic feasibility, and this feasibility is established, and then we also have a thing. So all things are incorporated in the project report of the mine that we have, and from that we assess what is the capacity of that mine, capacity of the mine, and if the capacity is 1 million ton above, we adopt the practice of OBR adjustment. This is only but the charge of expenses in a reasonable basis. Matlab, in simpler terms, we can call this as a matching concept. You can read all these things. I would like to here dwell on how this calculation is done. One is, from the project report will give me details of how much coal is available in that particular mine and how much OB I will have to remove from the mine to get access to the coal. So this we call as we create a ratio for this. Say for example, if the mine has a life of say like 20 years, the coal has to be is available in that mine. Say for example, let us have a figure of 50 million tons available in the mine, and which we can utilize of say, and the capacity of mine is 50 million tons. Remove these 50 million tons, we'll have to do an OB of say like 200 million cubic meter. The OB will be in cubic meter because we don't weigh the OB, so we measure it in cubic meter terms. So to remove 50 million, to extract 50 million tons of coal, we will have to remove 200 million cubic meter of OB. So this gives us a ratio of 1:50:200 is 1:4. That is, to extract 1 ton of coal, I will have to remove 4 cubic meter of OB. That is what I call it as a standard stripping ratio. That I call it as SSR. What the SSR project over a life of 20 will be like 1 to 4. The cost of the entire life of the mine has to be ascertained with regard to the standard stripping ratio. That is the sum and substance of this adjustment that I
Your
do.
voice
Say,
is
for
not
example,
clear.
in the next slide will be very, I'd like to show what is not clear. Oh, I'm sorry. I have a weak signal. I'm sorry about it. Is it okay right now?
Yeah, right now it is okay.
Yeah, okay. So,
But
say,
your
this is a crude
screen is
diagram
not
of.
visible. Pandurangan sir, your screen is not visible. And
1 minute, sir.
yeah, what I suggest is you can close your video so that the bandwidth would be, maybe if you are having a challenge with the bandwidth, then that would not be a problem.
1 minute. I mean, I think it automatically closed. Yeah. Are you able to see the PPT right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's getting loaded. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yes.
this is a
Thank you.
very crude diagram of the coal deposits that are available in a mine. You just ignore that diagram part. Though it's only to explain the concept here that to extract this much of coal, the material that is available in pink over and above this coal seam needs to be extracted first. So this amount volume of the overburden that is lying above this coal seam is required to be removed to remove coal. So if over a period of the life of the mine, as I said earlier, we have a standard stripping ratio. The ratio, the amount of overburden that is removed every year is not the same as the standard stripping ratio. And in 1 year, we may remove more OB, the other year we may remove lesser OB. So that is the nature of this, inherent nature of this industry. So if the idea to introduce such an OBR adjustment is to ensure that there are no big fluctuations on account of the additional costs or the lower costs on account of this overburden removal in the financial statements. Let me give you an example. In this present case, I have given an example of a standard stripping ratio of 4. So in a life of the mine, it may happen that in first year, we may have like a stripping ratio of like for to remove 1 coal, I would have removed, I mean, you can see in this PPT, start of the mine, we have lower OB quantity. So I would have removed lesser OB to get that coal. Okay, so that ratio of coal and OB in that particular year may be 1:2. And as I proceed, the OB that I will have to remove at the end of the mine will be, say, even like move to like 8 or 9 also. So what happens is that in the first year, only the cost of 2 overburden is recorded in my financial statements, and whereas the production, when the production of 1 comes out, I sell coal for 1. I have the sales of 1 is getting recognized. And when I do the same coal, 1 coal towards the end of the life of the mine, I will have a cost of say 8 or 9 OB. So the profitability will fluctuate depending on the OB that I am removing. So it should not be like in the first year I had a huge profit and in the last year I had a very lesser profit. So what I do is I moderate these cost over a period of the life of the mine. So when in the first year I do like 1:2, that is to get 1 coal, I remove only 2 OB. I add a cost of 2 OB into the picture to make it at par with the standard stripping ratio. So what happens when I charge my P&L with the cost that is called OBR adjustment, that appears as an expense, as a cost in my P&L and in my cost. So this charge helps me even out the profitability of the company. I mean, you would very well appreciate that we are a Maharatna company and we are a listed company. So we have a responsibility to report a very responsible figure to the shareholders and the entire public in general. So we have this responsibility. We cannot, depending on the nature of the mine and the strata of the mine, we cannot show like very fluctuating amount of profits. So in the first year, if I only give the costs of two OB, my profitability will be very high. The mine manager who is involved there, which will get huge performance related perks. And these are the scenarios that I wish to avoid. So, and towards the person who is at the fair at the life of the mine, he will be unnecessarily penalized for getting OB and I mean more OB done because of the nature of the industry and getting a lesser posting lower profits. So this scenario I wish to avoid. So that is why this, even though it is this adjustment is a non-cost, I mean, strictly incurred in real sense, is added as a cost in my cost sheet as an industry specific item. So during the initial years, I generally have a lower current ratio. The current ratio is the ratio for the current year. I call it as current ratio. The current ratio will be lesser than the standard stripping ratio, and in the later years, it will be much more than the standard stripping ratio. So the OBR adjustment helps me even out the impact on the profitability. So when the I more OB towards the end of the year, say like I remove in the 15th, 16th year, I get like 1:8 ratio. What I will do is I will withdraw the provision that I have, liability that I have created, and I will minus it in my expenditure section, and I will even out the impact of the high cost of OB that I have removed. So the charge that I'm giving to my profit and loss in the earlier years, it is reflected in the balance sheet also, and this is a very significant aspect of my P&L also. As I already showed in the earlier slide, around 4 to 5% of my costs are in stripping activity adjustment, and this is a very significant as considering the volume of the cost, of the financials. So this is how we calculate cost. We segregate costs between coal and OB, and what we do is we capture only those costs related to this OB, and with this per cubic meter cost of OB, we do this calculation of how much cost I will have to charge in terms of the overburden I have removed. So this is the calculation that I do here. And yes, and the in balance sheet, when I charge P&L, it gets reflected in the liability side of my balance sheet, and if it's a negative figure, it gets reflected on the asset side of the balance sheet. So that is how I disclose. So the second thing that is specific to this industry is the mine closure provisioning. I think the esteemed people gathering will be aware that similar method of accounting exists in oil industry also, where they have something called the site exploration activity that they do, where they have to do dismantling costs towards the end of the life of the asset that they have. Say, for example, you have offshore oil, and by the time of the completion of the life of those offshore assets, they will be the restoration act. They'll have to do certain restoration activities. When we mine out all the coal that is available in a particular mine, we have to undertake a few mine closure activities. There are different activities, and there are detailed guidelines in this also as to what constitutes my mine closure activity. There are around more than 20 items that forms part of this mine closure expenses. I have to ensure that the area, mined out area, is restored as much as possible to what it was earlier, and after this mining activity is done, it doesn't impact the environment the water table in that area as much as it otherwise would. So I'll have to carry out these activities. These activities are calculated, what activities I should do and how much I do. These are all done by measured and calculated and given specifically as part of my mine closure plan in my in the report that is prepared by CMPDI for me, and I'll have to incur expenses throughout the period. So these are the start provisions. These are very well given in Ind AS 16 and Ind AS 37. These are all the things that are given there. You can go through these PPT, what these provisions mention. I would like to introduce more on how this provisioning is done. So that will be my area of focus. Cross-model depreciation, unwinding of discount. I will be elaborating in the subsequent slides. So we also, what we do is we also create a provision for this mine closure expenses. What happened is ministry came and said, "Ki, look, you are already doing your mine closure. That is fine. The activities, that is fine. But I will monitor what you are doing currently. So ensure that you are doing all the activities that are required to be done as per your mining plan and as detailed by CMPDA in its report. You will have to deposit an amount in an escrow account in which you and I will both be parties. So you will deposit an amount in that escrow account, and depending on the progress of your mine closure activities, I will, and which will be certified by CMPD that you have done these things, I will be releasing the amount from that mine closure escrow account for your utilization." So this is the check that the government has kept in our activities to ensure that all the I just don't run away without fulfilling all the requirements that I have to do. So this is a government check in between. So I created this escrow account. These are the guidelines in which this provisioning will be done. And I have given you a small example also as to how this amount is calculated. For example, the amount. So as I mentioned earlier, the mine closure activities are not done exactly after you complete the coal mining activities. They are done along with your mining activities. Say, for example, the environmental expenses, that is a tree plantation I do on my overburden dumps. You will see hills and hills of overburden that is being dumped in open cast mines. So for those things, on those overburden dumps, I will have to do tree plantation. That is one activity that is given in the mine closure plan. This activity of tree planting will not be done at the end of the 20th year or of the life of the mine. This will be done concurrently along with my mining. Say, for example, I have created one dump, I will do plantation in that dump. Next, I will dump in another next portion, I will do plantation there. So just to tell you that the mine closure activities are done concurrently along with mining. So these activities have to be done concurrent. There are many activities. Say, for example, the water quality monitoring. So because during this mining activity, there is a discharge of mine water also. So this water should not pollute your water table. That is the concern of the government and environmentalists. So we have to undertake a lot of tests and lot of actions to ensure that the underground water does not get contaminated. So we perform parallel actions along with the mining activity, concurrently along with mining. So these are also mentioned in the mine closure provisions. We do all these activities concurrently, and for that I have given here an estimate of how this amount is calculated. Okay, say for example, I have 111 hectares of land, and per hectare of land, the government has said will have to deposit 9 lakhs per hectare in the escrow account. So this is for purposes of calculation. This figure is 111.1 into 9 is 9 lakhs. Okay, 9. It's not rupees 9 per hectare. It's 9 lakhs per hectare. So it is 1,000. It works out to 1,000 lakhs. So that is to give you an idea. So I have to incur an expenditure currently relating to 1,000 lakhs. These 1,000 lakhs is the figure as on date. With each passing year, there will be inflation and because of this, the amount also increase. So these 1,000 lakhs will become 1258. That is given at the bottom of the table here. So this 1,000 will become 1258 at the end of the life of the mine. This is the amount I have to deposit, okay, because this is the amount I estimate that I will have to incur over a period of the life of the mine to complete all my mine closure activities. So how this accounting is done, it's very clear in this slide. So what I have done is, you see 1258 is the amount that I have to deposit. This is the total cost. I mean, it's not the amount of deposit, this is the total cost that I have to incur. And the current value of that year, on the right side, you can see a discounting table. So in that discounting table, I take a interest factor and I discount it. So the net present value of the 12 as on date works out to 629. So what I do is I capitalize this 629. I will create a liability called a mine closure 629, and I create an asset for site restoration cost or land reclamation cost. It should rather be land reclamation cost in my asset side. So on the balance sheet, I will create two entities. On the asset side, it will be land reclamation or site restoration cost, and on the liability side, it will be mine closure provision cost. So this is the entry that I create. And once if I have created an asset, I'll have to depreciate it over a period of time. So this here says depreciation. This is done uniformly across the life of the mine. I have to depreciate this 629 over the period of the mine. For convenience of calculation, and 10-year period has been considered. I'm sorry, sir.
Hello. Sorry to interrupt. The
Hello?
bottom portion of the slide is not coming. There is some pop-up is coming there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'll share this with you, sir. I'll tell you how it is done, what is given there, and I'll share this slide with you also. So I'll just tell you what comes there. The unwinding of the year 21-22 unwinding of discount debit will be 63 rupees. That is in 2021. You can see the amount that is given 63 in C column. First item it is 63. That is the item that will come there. And mine closure provision will be the unwinding cost, the interest cost that is given 50 rupees will be coming there. So that is the figure that is given there. I'd like to explain a few before I come there. And so as I said, first, since I have created an asset, I need to depreciate it. Okay, so that depreciation is this C column, and for that now 629 has to become 1258. Okay, I cannot simply keep that 629. I will have to unwind this unwinding cost, or simply in other terms, interest cost. Is unwinding of discount cost is I keep adding to that 629 so that it becomes 1258 over a period of time. So you can see in column D, interest cost, that 629 rupees, I will add over a period of the life of the mine. So that 629 into 2, and this 629 becomes 12. 629 that I already capitalized, and 629 at the column D, these two will be added and it will become 1258. So that is the idea behind it. So in my books of accounts, there will be, in expenses side, there will be two types of entries. I mean, I would like to first focus on P&L here, right side of the A. In my expenses side, you will find unwinding of discounts as a part of my finance cost. And the depreciation, amortization, and impairment, that is the depreciation component on the under the head depreciation. So these two components are reflected in my P&L in this way. One is the unwinding of discount. I mean, I'll just go back to the earlier slide. The column D, this unwinding of discount and the depreciation. Both these items are reflected in my P&L as costs. And these two I show it in my P&L as expenses. And this is one side. And as I already mentioned, I create an asset under PPE, property, plant and equipment, as land reclamation, site restoration cost. and simultaneously a liability under non-current provisions as site restoration, mine closure costs. So this is the corresponding asset and liability. And as I said, I'll have to deposit an amount with the my mine closure escrow account. So that is the other financial year non-current asset deposit under a mine closure plan. And that again the debit will become this is the debit and credit will be bank account. So that is not relevant here, so I have not mentioned. And what I am doing is every year that the expense that I incur, I take it, I don't charge it to my P&L, I straight away take into my balance sheet. I properly go to other non-current assets, and these again the expenses that I incurred, I show it as an asset, and which may be current or non-current in nature. So depending on the type of expense I have incurred, it will be classified as current and non-current. So that is the what if the amount I have incurred, say for example, I can take this expense and I can claim this amount from that escrow account. So this once I claim that amount from that escrow account, that amount will be reduced from the progressive mine closure expenses incurred, and the net balance will be showed. So this is my accounting that and disclosure that I have been given for my mine closure provisioning. So these two are the basic, both these items. In expenses, what I show it as finance cost, unwinding of discount, and this depreciation on land reclamation restoration cost. Both these two things, as well as the stripping activity adjustment that we discussed earlier, all these three items are part of my industry specific expenses in my cost sheet. Average cost sheet that I prepare, these are part of the industry specific items. So these are all the things that I wanted to show you, and I understand that the time that is given for me is like 1.5 hours, and it's already close to 1.5 hours. So I'd like to close out with the few issues that the industry is facing right now and what is the way ahead. So as I already mentioned, this is a highly labor intensive industry. The labor is very highly unionized labor. They are very much resistant to change, and they don't want too drastic changes in their working culture and all those things. And we have to deal with it. That is the nature of our industry. And apart from that, we have a lot of restrictions in terms of environmental issues and land acquisition issues. So that is a very big headache for us. Headache in the sense that even though we are on, it is not like I today have the financial might, I today have the plans and everything in place, approvals in place, that I can go ahead and start mining. I have to depend on a lot of issues like giving employment to the land loser, giving doing a rehabilitation and restoration of the land losers, and actually getting that land itself is a very big challenge, because without that land acquisition, mining is not very difficult to do. And again, environmental and forest clearance, the norms for which these environmental and forest clearance are getting updated, okay, with every day. Come on, the kind of requirements that I had to fulfill a few years back is very different from the environmental and clearance, the requirements currently as on date, because we are increasingly becoming more and more conscious of the conditions in which we are living, and the lot of resistance from different quarters that are coming in, and I have this moral responsibility to fulfill all those obligations. So environmental and forest clearances are becoming increasingly difficult with each passing day. And again, I have a low grade of coal available in my country. And one thing that I didn't discuss earlier on when I was discussing these coal imports was that why I do this much of coal imports as far as the non-coking coal is concerned. One major reason is that I have excuse me, I have a lot of power plants which are situated in coastal areas, and those power plants have designed their uh, boilers of those thermal power plants in a way to handle better grade of coal. Okay, that is one big challenge I'm facing right now, because in this country I don't have that high grade of coal to if I so that I can approach him. Hey, look, I want to substitute the coal that you import with my domestic coal. You take my domestic coal. I cannot say that to him, because he will say, no, your coal will not suit my power plant, my boilers. They are designed for a higher grade coal. So that is the biggest challenge that I am facing right now. Uh, so that is why I am not able to offset that import requirement for non-cooking coal fully. One thing is the demand is higher, that is always there. But even if I am able to supply to that power consumer from my domestic coal, it is still not possible. So that is one big reason why, even though if I produce and scale up my operations to reduce that gap, it still will not be possible. So that low grade of coal is a very big concern for me. And again, as I said, there are evacuation constraints due to in an earlier slide I showed you the step down subsidiaries that I created to exclusively address this problem. This availability of rakes, the availability of railway wagons, the evacuation, the railway lines, they are not yet fully done to increase my coal production and evacuation. So, and as I said, there are no evacuation routes available for the coal that I will not be able to produce the coal from that place. Again, my one of another challenge is the trade receivables being very high. That is being, if you follow the media, there will be a lot of questions on what is your trade receivables. One big reason is that most of the customers in the power sector are state gencos. They have their own internal problems. They are not well efficient, or we can say they have issues in recovering the their dues, which in turn affects us. If the company is not able to collect their dues, again they don't pay us. So that is a very big challenge that is in the coal industry. And again, the high cost of UG mines. The main issue here is one thing to be discussed, is to be kept in mind, is even though I have painted a rosy picture earlier with the kind of deposits that is available in our country, I said, yes, they will last for 100 years, you need not worry. The biggest challenge available is that the depth at which that coal is available, or not all the deposits that are currently available are amenable to mining through open cast mines. We have to go for underground mines. That's a sine qua non of the industry as we progress every year into the future. So we have to develop technologies for having large underground mines. If we don't do that, even though we may have the deposits, those coal will not be viable to be extracted in a techno-commercially feasible manner. So, I mean, after all, come on, I am a corporate entity. I do have to fulfill this requirement of my capital budgeting. Matlab, if a project does not give you 12% IRR at 85% of the operating capacity, I cannot approve that project. So if the project is not viable, it becomes a very big challenge. So even after having reserves, I may not be able to extract or exploit those reserves in a techno-commercially feasible manner. So that is another challenge that is facing in this coal industry. Yes, how we can go ahead, what is the way forward? There has been a lot of work that has been done by the government in terms of improving transparency, say like creation of single window system, clearances, for obtaining clearances. There has been a lot of work that has been done, but it is not yet sufficient. It still takes a lot of time. Matlab, even if you had listened to a few of the private people who are willing to take coal blocks from auctions, but still are hesitating is that there are a lot of clearances that are required to be done, obtained from different types of people. So, say for example, a simple NOC from a small clerical level post person in a state government office is not very easy to get. It takes lot of time. So even if they create single window systems, I still may have to run from pillar to post in getting those NOCs and clearances, GAO, all those requirements before I can get that go ahead for mining. Okay, so these are again the land issue. I may give him the compensation that is applicable for the land at that place at as per prevailing market prices. Still, he may ask for a higher price, and there may be disputes in the title deeds. Oh, that's a very big domain, and it's a very complicated place where I have to then. And this requires a lot of support from the state governments. So it depends on which state government is there, who is the what are their priorities, how they are focusing on their transparency issues and all those things. So this is a very big issue even as on date. So we have come a long way, but we still have a long way to go. And again, as I said, increased mining from open cast mining, which are economically viable. Yes, but they do have a certain date beyond which I may not be do open cast mining in an economically viable manner. Yes, I am focusing on the last point. I'm focusing on increasing my infrastructure. You will find constant, I mean, almost every other media report which talks about the steps being taken by CIL discussing on their FMC. This is the first mile connectivity projects that currently the company is undertaking on the laying down of the critical railway lines timely manner to get those, because come on, we have these targets of achieving 1 billion ton and all those things in this particular period, but all these will be possible only if I have the necessary infrastructure in place for them. So if I don't have those infrastructure and railway lines in those places, my projects may not take off in the manner that I desire. So that is another challenge right now in front of me. And yes, I am looking forward to it. Thank you. And I would like to have some queries if you are from this August gathering.
Now I will request.
I hope I was able to give you the necessary, give an idea of the coal mining industry and what are the peculiarities and what are all the challenges in this industry right now in the limited time that I have. And I hope there was some value addition for all of you. And if you have any queries, please do tell us.
Thank you, sir. We will take the question answer at the end of this session. Now I will request our another speaker, CMA Neeraj Joshi ji, to start its presentation.
Thank you, Kulkarni sir. It was really a wonderful session by Pandurangan sir. He has given a lot of insights into the coal industry. So those who have not had any experience of coal industry would have also have got a complete idea about the coal mining now. And also the people who have worked in coal industry, like myself, not worked in the coal industry, but handled the auditing. It was really informative for us also to understand the transition of the coal industry and what the challenges the India faces. I will be handling the topic of handling the cost audit into the coal mining industry. So that is precisely I would be doing. I would rather try to cover my topic very quickly, maybe next 15-20 minutes, so that remaining 5-10 minutes, if there are any queries, because the intention is for the members to get an insight into coal industry. So I would rather have people ask the queries to Pandurangan sir since he are here. To get their doubts clarified if they have any. So I will begin with my presentation. Please give me access to share my screen. Let me just start till the time that technical difficulties resolved. That when we talk about the audit of coal industry, it is always a multi-auditor kind of a scenario, correct? So we need to be aware about that, that how we are handling the multi-auditor scenario when we are working as auditor in the coal industry. Just give me 1 second.
Yeah, you can share. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Just trying to share it. Yeah, correct. So yes, I will go to the next slide. Correct. So basically, when we talk about the audit assignment of a coal industry, we need to talk about two things. One is whether we are the lead auditors and we are also responsible for consolidation auditing, or we are doing audit of the zones. So generally, audit of the coal industry or the coal companies, it is distributed among various cost auditors. Correct. So one auditor is handling 1 or 2 zones. Like that, there are say 7 to 8 auditors which are handling audit of one company, and then somebody is the lead auditor who is doing the consolidation auditing. Correct. So that is the scenario which is maybe different than a routine cost audit where there is one person, one company kind of a scenario. Then there are two activities or other few activities that where as an auditor we have to focus. One is obviously the coal mining activity for which we have done the audit. So what are the important aspects to be covered under MIS and the reporting formats? This I tell always to all my co-auditors that see, when we are doing cost audit of any entity, uh, we all know that costing is a very sensitive subject. The data that we analyze or data that we have is also very sensitive data, and we go into micro analysis. So many times it is decided between the auditors and the clients that what kind of information shall be given in the audit report, correct? Or the clients generally would not want to give too much of detailed information in the audit report, or too much maybe say negative comments unless it's a qualification, but maybe some observations in the audit report because it is going to get submitted to the government. But then as an auditor, we have to follow a practice of submitting a separate MIS to the board. So when I'm talking about important aspects covered under MIS and reporting format, then we as an auditor shall also have to have some kind of a board reporting structure created for every audit. So same is the situation for coal mining. Then there are certain other aspects like income earned for dividend, interest, lease rent, mutual fund. So other income is main one big chunk where it obviously goes to the reconciliation statement. But these are the two main activities where we need to focus. Correct. Then uniformity in data collection of all the subsidiaries is one of the major challenges when we are having a multi location or multi division kind of a scenario as an auditor, and when there are multiple auditors, correct? So at the beginning of the audit, now this system is more or less set in the majority of the coal industry now. All the subsidiaries of Coal India, they are having this kind of a system already setting. But when we are doing the audit, we need to be sure that there is a uniformity in data collection across all the subsidiaries and across all the units also. So if you are given charge of say particular areas, then there are say 4 mines under you as an auditor, then there has to be a consistency in data collection and presentation among the 4 mines. Then only there can be a consolidation, and this consistency has to be there throughout the company. Then only there can be a consolidated report that can be prepared and presented. Okay. Then maybe Excel proficiency is what the auditors need when they are handling such kind of big assignments, because you have to use extensively Excel so as to collate, compare, and consolidate the data. So that is one skill set as an cost auditor, particularly working in a coal industry. I have experienced that a lot of working has to be there in the Excel sheet. So real expertise in Excel is required. Then MIS and reporting. So for mining activity, subsidiary wise and consolidated for the company. Correct. So subsidiary in the sense, what I can say that for various area wise. So area wise, there can be different report, and then there can be consolidated report for the company as a whole. And then benchmarking. So benchmarking analysis can be one way to look at it. Correct. So that can be one report or one value addition that auditors all put together can present, that the comparative analytical reporting to be prepared, exhibiting the best average and below average performance. So since there are multiple auditors, so maybe this task can be taken up by the lead auditor, but the other auditors, the branch auditors or the co-auditors, they have to support, and all auditors put together. So whenever in coal industry, there is always a big auditors pool. So what I recommend, or what I would be happy to have, is a meeting of all the auditors before the audit reports are finalized and final presentation is prepared. So maybe a combined effort as a team of auditors to present something good to the management, where then the benchmarking analysis, when then there can be a comparative analysis that can be drawn. So that can be a method, or that can be an approach for the auditing as a whole by the cost auditors, so that the best value addition can be given to the companies. Then these are some of the major control points as far as the auditing is concerned. Now these are common for all audits for that matter. So it's not only the coal industry, because as Pandurangan sir has also said that he has focused mainly on the critical areas of coal costing, and all other things are almost the same. So is the situation in case of auditing, that once the statements are prepared as an auditor, what we need to check for quantity information, for GST reconciliation, this all is mainly the same. So I will not focus on this. One major aspect that I would like to highlight here is the functional allocation of cost. So since mining is a singular kind of an activity, the companies might tend not to have the functional allocation that is expected as a theory of functional allocation. To give a simple example, for say the employee cost. So all the employees working in the mine may not be the direct employees. So there can be some people who are operating the equipment. There can be a team of repairs and maintenance guys. But the cost then needs to be split into various functions. Since mining is one activity, everybody engaged in the production related services shall not be treated as direct employee cost. So from that perspective, understanding how the functional allocation has been done. So mainly in terms of the utility cost, the manpower cost, depreciation of the equipment. So these are critical areas as far as the coal mining industry is concerned. Since it's a singular activity, we have to check whether the proper functional allocation has been done or not. So that is where we need to really focus on as far as the industry specific things goes. Correct. Then these are some of the key points in the quantity details analysis in specifically in the coal mining industry that I would like to share. So first is estimation of extraction of coal for the review period. So we need to understand, because coal is not an there is nothing called as installed capacity. There are coal deposits that are available. Now, how much coal is to be extracted depends upon what CMPDIL has told that particular mine. Correct. So mine-wise extraction plan is available. So what was the extraction plan that was given, or extraction estimate that was given by CMPDIL? Then actual extraction of coal for the review period. So that can be derived from the production reports of the mines. So from that figure, we get the capacity utilization to some extent, right? Then quantity sold during the period, it will come from sales data. Number of days of holding inventory, it is also very important, correct? So that will come, that is a computation. So how many days of inventory of coal is there in the mine, correct? Not unexcavated, but the excavated coal. Capacity utilization achieved, correct? So estimated extraction, actual. So based on that, we'll get the capacity utilization. So what is the capacity utilization that has been achieved is also critical. because it is not something like installed capacity, so it is overestimated. It is a target of production that is given to the mine. So the capacity utilization has to be at a very high mark, correct? Because that was the target as far as that mine, and this mine level targets build up to the India level excavation that is required. So there has to be a reporting on what was the utilization by the auditors. Then coal extraction through own manpower and coal extraction through contractual manpower. So earlier mining was considered to be an employment generating tool for the government, correct? And it used to have huge employment in terms of permanent employees. But over the years, that scenario has completely changed. Now, majority of the mining work would be done through contractual employees. There will be still permanent employees, but there is a huge chunk of contractual employees that come in. So there has to be a comparison as an auditor between what was the coal extraction through own manpower and through contractual manpower, so that we can calculate their efficiency and we can advise the company whether they shall go for, say, the permanent employees more, or they shall focus on the contractual employees more. Then grade wise coal production is again one critical analysis that as an auditor I shall do, that I shall ask for grade wise coal production, because when we are going to excavate, there is some planning in my mind, correct? That A grade coal, B grade coal, C grade coal, or say B1, B2, B6, what is expected out of this mine, and then actually what I'm getting. So actually what coal grade I'm getting is very critical, because the pricing of the coal depends upon the coal grade, correct? And then coal grade variants. So this is also very critical, that what was the expected coal grade, what coal grade have got. Coal grade slippage is also one critical factor as far as the accounting is concerned, correct? And also it depends upon what coal grade the mine has said, and because I have been doing audit of the generation companies also, so there is always some kind of a disconnect between the coal grade that is maybe told by the mining company and the coal grade that is recognized by the power generation company. So in some cases there can be a disconnect. So we say that we have sent, they say we have received B4, and then there is coal slippage variance, and those adjustments come in into picture as far as the accounting is concerned. So coal grade variance is also very critical, one important factor to be considered by the auditors, correct? Then mine wise profitability. So when I'm going to report something to the management, these are some of the areas on which I as an auditor shall focus. So one is mine wise profitability, that is the basic, correct, for which we have been appointed. So we shall tell what is the mine wise profitability, maybe prepare some kind of a consolidated cost sheet for that purpose. In coal mining, mind you, at very few times there would be material consumption. So material consumption is not very critical or not a major item. In some cases, there is zero material consumption. But the explosives and the blasting equipment, that would come, your depreciation would come, your material handling equipment will come. So there would be a detailed cost sheet also available. So mine-wise profitability is what I would report. What is the capacity utilization? As I said, capacity utilization is very critical to understand whether the target has been achieved or not. Input-output ratio is one more thing that I would report, that what was the input-output ratio. HME performance, that is heavy earth moving machinery, that's HMEE. And what was the performance of it? Because that machinery is being used for excavation purpose or material handling purpose. So what has been the performance of that machinery? So whether it has been completely utilized, underutilized, that also gives you a view on whether the operations have been efficient or not. Project-wise progress details, customer-wise profitability, summary of all mine performance, cost of production, then manpower utilization, each category of employee. So these are some of the areas on which as an auditor, I would like to present my MIS, correct? So we can choose all of these or some of these areas and present our observations to the management. So I have tried to present some formats that can be used or that are used for this kind of reporting. Right. So first was say mine-wise profitability. So this is just a cost sheet, and we can give as say what is my underground and grand total. So this gives a overall view of profit and profitability of the mine costing. The two important points here are industry-specific expenses of mine closure and OBR adjustment, which Pandurangan sir had just mentioned. So other things are pretty much okay. As I mentioned, functional allocation plays a key role. So if I ensure that the functional allocation has been done properly, then my process material, utility, direct employee, direct expenses, that part is okay. What are two critical points are industry specific mine closure activities and OBR adjustments, which Pandurangan sir has already explained. So this is my cost sheet that works out. So this is mine wise profitability. Next, as I said, is capacity utilization. So what was my available capacity? Again, we shall give this report separately for all the mines and classify it into underground and OC, because there will be variation in capacity utilization as far as the UG and OC is concerned. So that has to come out very clearly. Correct. So what has been actual production by self-manufactured, that's the departmental employees, and self-manufactured, that's the hired people. So what has been their manufacturing, if we can give that separately, then that also tells me that who is giving what kind of output, whether my hired people are giving better output or my departmental employees are giving better output. The other is input output ratio, as I mentioned. So basically input output ratio would be in relation to overburden removal. So Pandurangan sir has very beautifully explained the overburden concept. So production of coal in MT per cubic meter of overburden removal. So that ratio is very important. So lesser the overburden removal required for production of coal, the better is the situation. So you have higher productivity. So you are removing lesser overburden to get more of coal. So that is the situation. Then I would also recommend giving the details of explosives, timber, oil lubricants, HMME spares, and other consumables with respect to what was the quantity consumed, rate value, and per 1,000 MT of coal production. Correct. Of quantity as well as value. Right. In terms of that, these are the major equipments, or these are the major input. As I said, input output ratio generally in our regular terminology is how much material has gone in and how much material has come out. But since in mining it's kind of a service and production mix, so there is no material input. So input services and how they relate to the output of coal. That is how we have to interpret input output ratio. And ultimately, as I said, departmental and subcontracted production, correct? How much they have done. So this can be one of a very good way to look at input output ratio of various input services for manufacturing of coal, so that the efficiency of each of this can be measured and can be presented. HEMM performance is a major activity because HEMM is a major block of asset. Correct. Sometimes they are owned, sometimes they are hired also. So it is very important to understand that whether they have been utilized properly or not, so that decision can be made whether hiring is correct or whether less equipment shall be hired or whether more equipment shall be hired. So HEMM performance is critical. So some of the major equipments we have mentioned: dozer, driller, dumper, rope and hydraulics also. What was the availability, utilization, and analysis, that how many hours they were working, breakdown, maintenance, idle. So this kind of a report is very important. So as an audit output, if we can present this kind of a picture to the management, that would be very helpful for them as a consolidated observation for year as a whole. And then their productivity. So cost per MT, useful life, and utilization till date. So each one of that will have some kind of a useful life. So there also has to be an indicator that how much equipment needs to be changed over the years or in near future. So that is going to be again my capital investment, and my depreciation charge would improve. So for that, this kind of a report can be helpful to the management. Then I said progress, project-wise progress details. So major activities start with conceptualization and ends with successful commercial operation. Area envisages basically comparison between budgeting or planning and actual performance or achievement. So mining is a project. So we have to also advise management to keep a project level analysis kind of a sheet, which they do have, but it is to be done from the cost auditing perspective also. So what was my cost estimates in the beginning, and then at where I stand, correct? So that kind of an analysis, periodic comparison between plan and actual, gap between plan and actual, correct? So some kind of a project wise progress detailed analysis, if we can suggest management, and if we can do it for few of the mines, or maybe to start with few of the new upcoming projects, then that would be better. Then we have customer wise profitability. So it is the regular kind of a profitability that we would suggest. Mine wise, customer wise profitability is what I would suggest. Then summary of all mine performances. So we can take all the mines, and we have some, I have given some indicators on which I would like to present that what was my sales total cost margin percentage, then budgeted OBR removal, how much it was, budgeted production per coal, how much it was, budgeted stripping ratio against the actual stripping ratio. So I have my budgeted stripping ratio, actual stripping ratio. So I can check where I am lying currently. Then declare grade, bill grade, actual realization grade, and grade variance. That's what I was talking about, that there is a grade slippage. So what is the declared or billed grade by the mining company, and what is the actual realization grade maybe at the receiving end. That is where the grade variance would come in. So how much is the grade variance, or sales realization per employee? So overall productivity per man shift, underground and OC, both different. They will have different sales realization. Then side discharge load productivity. Correct. So these are some of the indicators that I have presented as part of summary of all mine performances. So it becomes kind of a MIS dashboard for the management. Then cost of production, we can report into various cost elements. So cost of production, and then further processing, if there is any. If you have a washery, or if you have any further processing going on the mine, in the mine, then that can come after the cost of production. Then we have sales realization margin, and so on. So that can be the cost of production. Then manpower utilization for each category of employee. So what we have given is the departmental employees, hired employees, OBR removal, departmental hired. So what are the numbers and what are their productivities that are? So some kind of analysis, because this is a very highly manpower driven business, correct? There is no very huge amount of automation that has still coming. There is a lot of manpower that is getting into. So understanding that how efficiently the manpower has been deployed is very critical. And that is why this kind of analysis that we have suggested. Correct. So with that, I think we are already at 1:30. So I have come to end of my presentation. I wanted to explain in very brief what kind of auditing approach we can take as an auditor when we are presenting to the management. That can add value apart from just routine auditing of my annexures. So with that, I think I close my session for today. If you have any specific queries for Pandurangan sir, because he's here, you can definitely ask it to him. So I hand it over to Kulkarni sir and Ashish.
Yeah, CMA Ripuranjan sir, can you ask? You can ask your question. You have raised your hand. CMA Ripunjay Kumar Singh, CMA Chittaranjan.
Sir, I think they have raised their hand in the beginning only by mistake, so we can ignore them.
Okay.
We can check
Sir,
for
there are few questions in the chat box.
So regarding this cost of goods sold, we don't have any, as I said, we don't have any raw material, but for cost of goods sold, we adjust the opening and closing of coal that we have produced to arrive at the cost of goods sold, sir. That is what the entry we pass. So as such, no raw materials are involved, but the closing stock of finished goods that we take, that is the coal that we have produced.
Sir, how you account for the other mining elements which you find while excavation and all that in the UG mine?
Sir, we have a separate that is dealt by IBM, sir, Indian Bureau of Mines. We don't normally do that, sir. We have regulatory bodies for that. We just have to report and they will take care, sir.
Okay, okay. So you don't account for it?
No, sir, no, sir.
So what about the cost of that split up point up to which you have gone for the excavation?
Sir, actually, if we are yet to come. I mean, we for those items actually. We keep those reserves intact and we just do mining apart from that zone actually. So
Because
we hand over reserves to the concerned IBM.
Because in the recent media reports, we learned that in some Chandrapur area, there are some gold mines have also been noticed. So
actually, gold as an ore is not very easy to mine. Yes, you are right, sir. There have been deposits that have been found, but the cost of production of that ore is very high. So we don't venture into that zone, sir. We have already handed it over to the Ministry of Mines. They are going ahead with the auction for those ores, sir. Those gold ores that are available, sir. That auction is being done by the Ministry of Mines. We are under Ministry of Coal.
Okay.
Any question? You can unmute yourself and you can ask.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. My question is to Neeraj sir. I want to know. Earlier, we had a industry-wide cost audit record rules and report rules. Now that has been changed to the structure-based. But is that the earlier practice somewhere or somewhere it is applicable now also, and which is useful at present scenario also?
Right, sir. Sir, technically speaking, the earlier rules no longer exist, correct? Legally, the earlier rules are not applicable. So the industry-specific costing formats are not binding, correct? But it has been practiced by many of the industries that they are still following the old formats to primarily compile the data. Because I have seen that in oil industry, in coal industry, in power sector, that the old formats are still used by the industry because they were industry specific. So they are very much of use. Now, unfortunately, under the pretext of making everything standardized, the government has done away with the industry specific formats. But if you really ask me, these are some of very peculiar kind of industries for which those formats might have been retained. For others, maybe say machining or routine, say automobile or heavy engineering industry, where these kind of peculiar nature of items are not there. There we could have gone for the common format, but unfortunately that is not the situation. So to answer your question, legally the old formats are not valid now, but as a practice they have been followed by many of the industries and they are very much helpful. So I always tell everybody that if you really want to understand the costing of that industry, refer to the industry specific record rules that are our own publications. They are beautifully written. They give very detailed the production process, how the costing is done, various formats for all 44 industries. Excellent documentation generated by our seniors at that point in time.
Yeah.
There is
Thank you.
question.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So there was a query about the cost-saving measures actually implemented by CIL. Actually, we have done work in this direction, and sir, the material is very big actually. Probably, if we can have a different session, we can discuss it because it will run until an hour. I think because we as cost accountants, as I mentioned, right from the top management to the bottom level, we have done a lot of work, sir, and I would like to present them in an elaborate way that would be befitting to our esteemed members who are joined.
Any other question?
You can conclude,
We
sir.
will upload this webinar on our WRC website, and presentation also will be available. Members can download the sheet from there. Now I would like to thank CMAP Pandurangan sir for his excellent presentation and explaining in detail about the primary source of energy, background of coal mining, mining method, mining technology use, cost leadership, shipping activity adjustment, shape to calculate OB cost, mining closure provision, etc. I also would like to thank CMA Neeraj Doshi for his excellent presentation. He highlighted in his presentation scope of assignment, cost audit of zones, that is activities to be focused, audit program, MIS and reporting format. I also would like to thank WRC staff for their continuous support. Before, I would like to thank all the members. Under the series of webinar on industry-specific costing and cost audit, we are planning to have webinar in future on pharma, hospital, port, and power distribution. We'll update you about the same from time to time. We also having other type of seminar, that is macro Excel, GST, then the EXIM policy, and other things. We have forensic audit and foreign exchange. So whatever we are going to have the seminar, webinar, we will update you from time to time. I would like to thank all the participant members for their continuous support. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.